Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento today. We are joined by Dave Jones. He is the insurance commissioner for the great state of California. And so I want to speak with you about workers' comp and workers' comp fraud. Your office was instrumental in a operation, we'll call it a sting, known as Operation Spinal Tap, caught up a sitting state senator, Senator Ron Calderon. He is currently charged with a crime. His brother, Tom, recently pled guilty to a crime. Tell us about your office's involvement in this investigation.
This case began after we received information from a confidential informant that a hospital CEO in Long Beach by the name of Michael Drobot, the owner and operator of Pacific Hospital, had put together a vast conspiracy of workers' compensation insurance fraud. The way it worked was he performed surgeries on injured workers at his hospital who needed back surgeries. He provided kickbacks, $10,000 to $15,000 a surgery, to doctors, chiropractors, and others to refer patients to his hospital.
Is that impermissible, the kickback, the referral fee?
It's illegal.
It is
under
illegal.
both state and federal law. You can't provide bribes or kickbacks for patient referrals because that puts patient safety at risk. We want patients to be referred to physicians and hospitals based on their need, not based on money. But in this case, they were being referred based on these kickbacks. Surgeries were performed at the hospital, and then Drobot would mark up the price of the implant hardware and the surgeries and pass all those costs on to workers' compensation insurers. $500 million in workers' compensation insurance fraud.
Has he been convicted?
He has pled guilty to federal felony counts, and he's agreed to cooperate with our ongoing investigation as to other co-conspirators. There's a number of physicians, chiropractors, and others who have pled guilty as well. But in the course of our investigation, that is detectives at the California Department of Insurance, we uncovered evidence that indicated that Drobot, the hospital CEO, was bribing a sitting state senator, Senator Ron Calderon.
And let's talk about that, because when you tell me that fact pattern, I don't understand why a state senator would be involved in such a conspiracy, but do explain the legislative element of this apparent conspiracy.
Senator Calderon chaired the Senate Insurance Committee, and at that time, under state law, there was no price cap on the cost of these back surgeries. So the allegation is that Drobot bribed Senator Calderon to prevent the passage of legislation that would create a price cap for the very surgeries that Drobot was doing at his hospital, marking up the price of, and committing fraud against workers' compensation insurers.
And that legislation at that time did not pass?
Well, there was no legislation at that time.
It didn't even make it into committee.
That created a cap, but there was evidence of bribes, and then the FBI opened a parallel investigation that involved a sting operation with a movie producer, and the allegation is that Senator Calderon took additional bribes from the movie producer, which was an FBI agent, to conduct legislation that would lower the threshold for film tax credits. So all of these are a part of the federal case against Senator Calderon.
Including Spinal Tap.
Indeed, it all came out of Operation Spinal Tap, which began as a workers' compensation insurance investigation by detectives of the California Department of Insurance. So I'm very proud of the work our men and women have done here.
So his brother Tom has pled guilty. He has pled guilty in connection with this investigation, in connection with Operation Spinal Tap as well?
So Tom Calderon pled guilty to one federal count of money laundering and has admitted that he facilitated the receipt of a $30,000 bribe as a part of these overall schemes. And so in the course of the investigation, additional evidence was uncovered about additional co-conspirators, and as we're working through the investigations and the prosecutions, more individuals are pleading guilty.
So where do we go from here in terms of the grander question about workers' comp fraud? I mean, I can recall the Dateline NBC reports of someone claiming that they are incapacitated, they can't work, and then there's video of them surfing in Hawaii.
Well, there's varieties of fraud. There are individual workers who pretend to have injuries they don't have, and we go after them and we hold them accountable, and we work with DAs to prosecute them. There are employers that misreport or misclassify their employees to avoid paying workers' compensation insurance premium, and we go after them as well. And then there are providers, like medical providers, like the hospital CEO in this particular hospital, who commit fraud also, and we go after them too. So we distribute $60 million in grant funds to district attorneys. My department investigates the fraud, and then we work closely with the DAs to prosecute. And I think the good news is we've had a number of very successful and very publicly known prosecutions, and our hope is that will deter this sort of activity going forward.
I want to talk about death benefits, an area that's also within your purview as insurance commissioner. When someone dies and someone has a life insurance policy, what is supposed to happen?
So what's supposed to happen is if the life insurance company receives a claim or has knowledge that the life insurance policyholder has passed away, they're supposed to take steps to look for the beneficiary and pay the benefits. That's not what happened with regard to at least 20 major life insurance companies. They rented a database from the Social Security Administration called the Death Master File. This is a database that gets updated with the names of people who have died every time a death certificate is filed. Social Security Administration has the database to make sure they're not paying ongoing benefits to people who have died. They rented the database to all of the major life insurance companies, and the life insurance companies then began to use the database to their economic benefit. What they did was they took the names in the Death Master File and looked to see if there were matches with people that have annuities. So annuities are where you give a big pile of money to the insurance company and they promise to make payments over the rest of your life. So the insurance companies wanted to know if an annuity had died so then they could stop making payments to that person. But guess what? They didn't take the Death Master File and match it up against the names of their life insurance policyholders to see if a life insurance policyholder died to pay that person's beneficiary, whether it's a spouse, grandkids, kids, whatever. And as a result, they sat on billions of dollars of benefits. So I'm leading a national investigation and enforcement action. We've gotten settlement agreements from the 20 largest life insurance companies in the nation, representing about 70% of the market. And as a result, we've gotten them to push out over $5 billion in life insurance benefits to beneficiaries that they were sitting on.
Were they or are they required to seek out the beneficiary if they are aware of the passing as a result of the Death Master File?
Yes, once they had the Death Master File and they used it to their economic benefit, then they had an obligation under states' fair claim settlement practices laws to look to see if a life insurance policyholder died and if someone had to seek out that beneficiary. And that's the 20 settlements, that's what the 20 settlements provide that they have to do.
To me, and I used to be a practicing lawyer, it seems like this behavior is intentional and could rise to the level of fraud, either civil or criminal. Am I off base, sir?
So fraud requires proof of intent and proof of criminal intent, and there's a very high standard. What we've decided to focus on is getting the money to the beneficiaries as fast as possible. And so we're working our way through the top 40 life insurance companies in the United States. We've gotten settlement agreements with the top 20. We've pushed out over $5 billion of benefits. And we're going to keep working our way through with these investigations to make sure every beneficiary that's owed money is paid.
What about interest?
Well, of course, if there is a failure to pay for some period of time, we believe some interest is owed as well. And then finally, there's another body of law that says if a corporation has your money and can't find you, and over 3 years they can't find you, then they have to give the money to the state controller to look for you.
It's called ca.gov?
That's right, and those are escheatment laws. And so Controller John Chung and now Controller Betty Yee have a parallel controller's investigation and enforcement action going on with regard to those laws.
What about Attorney General Kamala Harris? Is she investigating for potential criminal violations?
Well, the great thing about being insurance commissioner is you have very strong jurisdiction as it relates to insurance companies.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you can investigate with regard to the Calderon incident.
And we're taking the appropriate steps to make sure that the right result occurs. In this case, it's getting those benefits into the hands of people. We could spend a lot of time working up a case, a criminal case, but here I think the more important thing is get the benefits in the hands of the people.
So what have the insurance companies been saying? Have they been reticent or they have been responsive?
It's been varying degrees of responsiveness. Some companies were immediately responsive. Others were actually in a fight with. Kemper, which is a big insurance company headquartered in Illinois, is actually suing my office and the controller's office to challenge our efforts in this regard. So we're going to contest their suit. They're saying that we don't have the legal authority to do what we're doing. We say we do. We're confident we do. So some insurance companies are quite intransigent. Others have been more responsive.
His name is Dave Jones. He is the insurance commissioner for the great state of California. My name is Brad Pomerance, Local Edition.